Hello, and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Dr. Donald Pelto, and today I'm going to go over some healthy living tips. A lot of people have kind of wondered, why has a podiatrist put together different tips on living healthy? And really, that's kind of one of the areas of passion that I have, and it's a way I'm able to help my patients, because I see a lot of people every day and they want to get better, sometimes from their foot condition, but a lot of times people have other kind of issues or other problems that I can at least give some tips for improvement. So what I put together here is a kind of a compilation of different areas of life, and I'm going to give you a few tips and a few technologies that might be able to help you in these areas. So these are my healthy living tips, probably for 2020, and I hope you enjoy them. So here's a little outline here, what we're working with. Some of the tips are going to be on staying fit, losing weight, staying positive, being productive, email, reducing distractions, financial health, masterminding, developing habits. And at the end, I've actually stole this, some rules to live by. Okay, so we'll try to be quick. At the end of the presentation, there's going to be a little link. It's called a QR code that you can take a picture with your phone, and then you'll be able to see all the resources and different types of technologies that I'm talking about. So just wait till the end for that if you're watching this on TV. If you're watching this on the internet somewhere, there might be a discussion group underneath it or some comments or description underneath it. So let's start talking about staying fit. Staying fit, I want to go over a little bit of my journey if you're interested. I started out being fit as a kid. Actually, I started out being fat as a kid, but then I got fit a little bit later on. And staying fit has always been kind of a challenge, and it's a challenge for a lot of my patients for a couple of reasons. A lot of my patients want to stay fit, and I think they work out too hard. And when they work out too hard, or what I mean by that is they might do too much, too frequently, and they get injured. And a lot of the common problems that I see, like plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendinitis and stress fractures, maybe just from being too intense. And really, in terms of staying fit, I've gone through different methods, and you really have to find out what's the best workout for you. And all these tips here that I'm sharing with you are tips that I actually do. It's not just theory. It's what I found that works and what works for a lot of my patients. So the first tip, in my opinion, for staying fit is boot camps. If you're not familiar with a boot camp, there are some different apps and different places you can go to do a boot camp. How did I get into this? Well, I was probably like everyone else in the past. I went to the gym and I didn't know what I was doing there. I tried to go 30 minutes every single day. I never really saw any improvement. And then I was getting frustrated. And the first app that I tried to download was something called the 7-minute workout. I don't know if you've ever heard this. It kind of seems impossible. It's this workout that you only do it 7 minutes a day. And that really didn't work. I wasn't really seeing any changes. And then what happened is my wife, actually, she started this program, was a boot camp. And she said, I think you'd like this. And for staying fit, this is what I found to be the most beneficial. And I'll explain. Well, before we had this thing where we couldn't go out of the house right now, which we're living through, I found it beneficial basically because it set it into my schedule. I think to stay fit, we have to have it in our schedule, and it has to be planned. If it's not planned, it doesn't get done. And I started out with these boot camps at this local place I went to. I went to 3 days a week. It's called the Fitness Asylum, and it was great, and I enjoyed it. It was at 5:30 in the morning, and it worked out the whole body. That's the benefit of a boot camp. It works everything, all your body parts together, versus just one, where if you're just running or just swimming or just doing something else like that. The other benefit is you do it with other people. So you kind of get a little bit competitive and you work a little bit harder, I think, than you would if you're just doing it at home. The third benefit, in my opinion, is that I pay per workout, maybe like $10 or something like that. But the real benefit is, frankly, if I don't go, I get charged $25. And it really motivates you to get up and go to the gym if you have to pay for not keeping your commitment to yourself. I started out with 3 days a week, and now I do 2 days a week, Mondays and Fridays. And even in this moment where I can't get out, they do them online. But I think, in my opinion, boot camps are the best. You might have to modify if you have some other conditions going on, that you might have to modify the types of exercises, but they're helpful to do that. And I just find having that community really helps. So for staying fit, in my opinion, the number one benefit is a boot camp. Okay. Let's talk about losing weight. The next aspect I want to talk about is losing weight. And if you look at me, if you're one of my patients, you probably think, well, he's kind of skinny. He has never had a problem with weight. Well, when I was young, I was really big, and I really couldn't lose it and things like that. And I've tried a lot of different things. I tried the 10 little meals a day, all this food prep, and I talked to a lot of my patients about that. That was one way. I've tried ketogenic. I've tried paleo. And when it comes down to it, really the biggest tip that I have, the easiest way of doing it is with fasting or intermittent fasting. This has really revolutionized the last couple of years. And you'll notice there's a couple of other videos on my YouTube page about this. It just made it a lot easier for myself and for a lot of my patients. I don't want to go into depth because you can watch one of the other videos, but basically what I found that's worked the best is just picking a window of time, maybe a 6-hour window or a 4-hour window, and you just eat during that time frame. You eat 2 meals or 3 meals or however much you want during that time frame. And then you have a period of fasting for a long period of time that reduces your insulin level and helps you to burn fat and lose weight. I've been doing it. It's been a year and a half, almost going on 2 years now. I do pretty much 1 meal a day, 1 meal and a snack within a 4-hour window, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, I just eat normal, usually 2 or 3 meals. And some days I cheat, some days I eat more, holidays I eat more. But I find it's the easiest way long term to lose weight and keep weight off. And that's my biggest tip in terms of losing weight for staying healthy. Once again, you have to talk to your doctor if you have any other conditions like diabetes and you're on other medications. Okay. The next thing, staying positive. Staying positive is a challenging challenge for a lot of us. And being positive, I find it affects your family. It affects your work as a doctor. Staying positive, there's difficult things that happen in our lives. I find there's a journal called the Gratitude Journal or the 5-Minute Journal, which I think works great for this. Basically, it's where you every morning you get up and you write 3 things that you're grateful for. So you can do this on a paper on your own. 3 things you're grateful for, kind of 3 things that would make the day great if they happened, and then a positive affirmation. These are great things to do. It only takes 5 minutes, and there's something at the end of the day too where you can look at it and see how your day was. I found in the last few years, that's been the biggest benefit to me. Prior to knowing about the Gratitude Journal, the other thing that really helped me is something called a positive focus. And this I learned at something called Strategic Coach. And they have an app called the Win Streak app. It's on iTunes. You can download it. Basically, it's every day at the end of the day, you look at what are the 3 positive things. What are the wins for the day? The positive focus looks at what was good, why, and then kind of looking at building off of that, like what's next. So if something went really, really well, how can I make it even better in the future or add to it? And then there's an action step to it. So you should be able to find some more information. But I think staying positive is hard for all of us. And just a word, as everyone knows, if everyone is, I always say, if I don't like anyone, the problem probably isn't everyone else. It's probably a problem with me. And staying focused, staying positive can also be affected by your eating. But for me, more importantly, it's affected by my level of stress and my lack of sleep. So if I sleep or don't sleep well, that really affects my positivity, as well my eating. If I eat a lot of sugar, refined foods and things like that, I just don't feel as good. So staying positive, just be aware. Here's a couple of tips that'll work for you, that might work for you. You can consider trying if you want to, for staying positive. Being healthy and being productive. These are some tips that I want to share with you that have really worked well for me. And I actually have these things sitting here. Actually, I was going to share with the other one. It's called the Gratitude Journal right here. And the other one is called a productivity planner. And this is kind of a cool thing too. What this is, they kind of go together. The productivity planner is what I bring to work. And it basically, it's based on, there's a whole story of someone that wanted to help Andrew Carnegie be more efficient, and he offered this one tip, and this person got paid a lot of money for this tip. And basically the tip is to write down what you want to do every day. I know it sounds obvious, okay, really, really obvious, but a lot of people don't do it, and we get distracted. You start your day and your day is done. And if you don't really know what you want to do, you end up doing everything except what you really need to do, because usually the things we need to do aren't fun. They're usually hard, or you're procrastinating with them. So in this planner, I have a little place on there where I write the top 5 things that I want to do for the day that would make the day great. And then I have other things underneath there. And then you kind of plan in the beginning everything you want to do in the week. And then you kind of go through and try to accomplish those. That works really, really well for being productive. And it can change day by day. Another thing that really helps me with being productive is this thing called Follow Up Then. It's a website called Follow Up Then. I've interviewed them on Healthy Living before, the inventor of it, but I use it more and more every single day. So for example, if I get a message that I have to pick up milk on the way home, I can send a message via email at 5 p.m. It will text to me to go get milk so I can remember it, because we're overloaded. And the whole idea of Follow Up Then is to distract you or to interrupt you when you can take action, or when you're ready to take action, because otherwise our mind gets cluttered with a lot of information and a lot of emails. So for example, if I get an email and I can't take action on it, I'm going to forward it. For example, it might come in on Friday and I don't want to deal with it till Monday or Tuesday. I'll forward it to Tuesday at 1 p.m. or at noontime when I can take care of it during my lunchtime. And that's a really good way to clean out my inbox, but as well, it'll kind of show up when I can take action. Also for certain repetitive things that I want to do. Let's say I want to look at a certain website every week, or I want to look at our financials for our office. It'll send me an email once a month to look at those. I know there's other ways of doing it. You could put it in your calendar. You could do other things, but I kind of like this idea of focusing all of my activities within one medium. So if it's your calendar, use your calendar. If it's your email, you can use your email. This is used via the email, and it has this way of sending text messages as well. I think it's great. There might be a little fee to it. I think it's like $5 a month, but it's way worth it in terms of being more productive. By far, the Follow Up Then helps me be the most productive if you use it, if you have to learn how to use it, but it works really, really well. And this productivity planner really helps if you're a person that likes to get things done. You have to know yourself. I feel like I'm a person that if I write it down, I'll get it done. And it does. It gets done every single day. But if you're not that type of person, you have to figure out a different method that works for you. I want to give you some tips about email now. For email, there are a couple of functions that really, really help. For example, there's a send later function. And this function is if, let's say I get an email on Friday and I want to email someone back, but some people check their email all the time. I'm not one that does that. Sometimes it gets me into trouble, but I don't like to check my email. I don't have all the notifications on, and I want to send this email on Monday. So there's a send later function where you can pick a time. Let's say I'll write it on Friday, but I won't have it sent till Monday at 8 a.m. Once again, with the whole mindset is I'm going to send it when I can get the response and take action on it. I don't want to send it on Friday because they might send it back on Saturday and I'm not going to check it till Monday. Another neat function, and this is with Gmail, they have these functions, templates. I don't know if you've heard, they used to be called canned responses, but there's something called templates. Basically what it is, it's a pre-made email template. And so things that you have to answer or reply or email people the same thing over and over, that's a kind of a cool tip to simplify, to live better. I love using those templates, especially when I see a patient, for example, and I do this frequently with patients in the office. I'll send them an email saying, hey, just checking how you're doing. If it's something medical related, you can go to our portal to answer me, but otherwise you can just send a quick email. And I put that portal thing because of HIPAA for patient protection. So I'm not going to go over any of their details in the email, but it's just a nice little email they can get. And I use this template over and over. I use that in conjunction with that send later function. So for example, I'll see someone in the office and then in 2 weeks, I want to email them. I'll write it with the template and then it'll show up to them in 2 weeks. And that send later function, what it does is it actually stays in their inbox, actually in your draft box, and then it'll send it in 2 weeks. And then with email, once again, I use the Follow Up Then function. And the best function for Follow Up Then with your email is to get your inbox to zero. I don't know if you've ever had your inbox to zero, but that's the whole goal. with this follow-up then. I'll send emails back to myself. So I'll email someone and I'll put like 1 week or 2 weeks at follow-up then, according to that, and it'll send it back to me in a couple of weeks, so I can just make sure the person got back to me. And that's a really kind of a great thing, because what I used to do is I used to just kind of email someone and keep it in my inbox until they got back to me, and that left for a lot of clutter in my inbox. So the follow-up then really works well. I want to talk a little bit about reducing distractions. Here are my 2 best tips. One is blocking time, and the other is a Pomodoro, which is a kind of a timing way of working on things. And I didn't include something else. Reducing distractions would be to turn off all of your notifications on your cell phone. Once again, the way I think about it, and this is my idea, these are a lot of other people that are a lot smarter, their ideas, is that when you have your list of things you want to do, that's your priorities. When you have everything on in terms of notifications, that you're taking someone else's priorities and making them first. Okay. So you want to turn off all those distractions. I kind of think about it this way. It's kind of like when you're in the operating room. When I'm in the operating room, no one can distract me. If they want to get a hold of me, they can call the hospital and they'll forward it into the operating room. But it's really a place that's without distraction. And there are certain times we should be without distraction, because to go from one activity to another activity takes mental strain, and you also lose focus. So I like the whole idea of blocking time and having these blocks of time. Let's say 25 minutes is the Pomodoro system, where you take 25 minutes blocks of time and then a 5 or a 10 minute break and then 25 minutes. So what you do is you focus for that 25 minutes on a task, whatever it may be, and then you take a little break. During that break, you go get something to eat. You might go to the bathroom. You might do something else. And then after your 5 or 10 minute break, you come back and focus for 25 minutes. I used to do this in school, and I actually wish I learned about this in medical school. I didn't know about it until recently, but it works really well. For example, you do 50-minute blocks. You do 50 minutes and then 10-minute break and then 50 minutes. And that way you can study for many more hours. You can work on things for many more hours than you could if you do like a 3-hour block. Your brain is super fatigued. And it's good to do these blocking of time for studying and working on tasks, especially with things that you don't get distracted on. It doesn't work so well if you're, for example, if I'm in a day seeing patients and I try to do this block of time and then I have to see a patient or do something else that's more urgent. So it doesn't work for everything, but it works really well with turning off distractions. And then during your break, then you can check your email, you can check your other types of things. One other thing I find with that blocking of time, a good tip, I think, is when I get to work, I check my email only at noon. And I check everything else at noon as well. So I'm not looking at it throughout the day. You kind of let everything kind of accumulate until noon. Why at noon? Well, noon's when I have time I can take action. I don't know about you, but sometimes I read something, but I can't take action on it. And then it causes like an internal stress. It's kind of like an open drawer that I want to close, but I can't because I'm too busy seeing patients. So a really great tip for living healthier is only look at it when you can take action. So I try not to take action or look at things besides at noontime or maybe at the end of the day. So I give myself a limited period of time, let's say 5 or 10 minutes, and I take care of all my emails. And then at the end of the day, I don't check on the weekend because I can't do anything and it just causes me stress. Now, once again, this won't work for everyone, but it might work for a few people that are watching, and it would be beneficial for you. Once again, financial health, that's a kind of a big struggle at this point. There's different phases in our life. I think when we're a student or a resident, or if you're working or you're starting in your career or later on in your career. But by far, what I found to be most helpful is something that I learned about a security fund. A security fund basically is a certain quantity of money that's in your savings, not invested, that you can use. And in times like this that we're going through, it's helpful. But that kind of brings a piece. If you have an extra 10 or 5 or 20 or $30,000 in the bank, it really depends that, because what bad is going to happen is going to happen. And if you don't have any reserve, or if it's not available, it causes a lot more stress. So that's the best thing I've heard about in terms of financial health. And then learning, just being a student of investing or different financial skills, and being a student in everything in terms of learning, try to learn different areas. That's what I find the biggest fault is that we're not taught these things like financial literacy. We're not taught a lot of these things in school, even in medical school or in residency. we're not taught about that. So a lot of doctors specifically, they earn a lot, but they're not the best at organizing it and managing it. And I'm speaking of myself. I can't speak of any others, but that's myself. And then another tip that I've learned is something called a mastermind. And this isn't an idea of me. This is an idea of a lot of writers that have written about this. Napoleon Hill is one that talked a lot about this. And what I do personally is I have a local mastermind and I go to something called strategic coach. Why do we need these? Basically, these are like communities or groups. If you notice, there's a lot of different groups on Facebook. There's a lot of different groups that are formed with like-minded people. And I find a mastermind is a group of smart people that like to get together and help one another and help for whatever focus it might be. A mastermind could be as simple as like an AA group for alcohol, where you talk to each other and help each other with alcohol. The local mastermind that I'm involved with are 4 or 5 different business people, and we each take turns each month to talk about our business, our problems, our issues, and we get advice and counsel from other people around us. It's really good to have that type of a thing. In most communities, they have this. And then the other thing that I've been going to it's going on about 8 years now is something called strategic coach. A lot of these mindset tools and thinking processes like the positive focus that I mentioned and some of these other ones, they can be found at Strategic Coach. Basically, it's a place you go and you meet with a group of 30 or 40 other business people, and they're not podiatrists, and we learn different techniques and we talk about our business and talk about our personal life. And I found actually the Strategic Coach and these other masterminds have helped me more personally to get more of a balanced lifestyle, because it's very common for people to be unbalanced. And so I think kind of working on that and being involved with something like that. And then another thing that's very important, I feel, are developing good habits in our life. And there's this topic I learned recently. It's called habit stacking. I learned this. There's a book called Atomic Habits. This isn't my idea, but it's his idea from this book. I find it's great. And habit stacking is basically you already take a habit that you have and you stack to it. I'll give you a little example. We had a jacuzzi that we hardly ever used, and I wanted to use it more. And I figured, how could I connect it to a different habit? And so when I do my 2 workouts, my boot camps, after the boot camp, I go into the jacuzzi. And that's kind of you're stacking one habit on top of another. Or what I do in the morning, my habit, I read my Bible, and then I do my gratitude journal, and then I do my planning for the day. So it's a habit that you're stacking to do that. And another thing is to automate habits. I use that follow-up then. It reminds me, for example, every day at 4 p.m., it sends me a text message to tell my wife when I'm going home. And it also kind of reminds me to go home and not stick around at the office. So trying to automate habits with reminders makes it a lot easier. So developing that thing, and also make it expensive. That's what I was talking about in terms of the workouts. If I don't show up to my workout, it costs me $25 on top of the $10 or whatever it is for the boot camp. So it's really, those are some great things. There's a lot of great books. My latest one that I've enjoyed is called Atomic Habits. You might enjoy it, reading it as well. And then I'm going to conclude here, before I give you the link here, are just some rules that I've learned, and I've kind of stolen these from different people. And I think these are real important rules to live by. Make peace with your past to not disturb your future. I find a lot of times we live in the past, we get worried about the concerns. It's not so bad when bad things happen, but as long as we can learn something from it, like what would we do differently, I think is one of the best questions we can ask ourselves. If we have a bad day or something bad happens to us, what can I learn? How can I become better from this? Instead of just dwelling on what happened, we can dwell on how to become better from it. What other people think of you is none of your business. This is something for a lot of us that we were like first children, like I am, and we want to please people. What people think of me is none of my business. I'm doing the best I can with everything that I do, both at work and with providing this content. But what other people think, it shouldn't bother me. I shouldn't be concerned with that, because we're not going to please everyone. Don't compare your life to others. It's the thief of joy. Comparing is really, really a challenging thing, because there's always going to be people better. And we tend to always compare ourselves with people that are better off. what I find what's healthier is to compare me to me in the past. How have I gotten better? How have I improved? Time heals almost everything. Give it time. Even the biggest struggles and problems, if we look at them a few years out or looking forward a year or two, it's probably not going to be such a big deal. Even everything that we're going through right now when this is being filmed. And then stop thinking so much. It's all right to not know all the answers. That's a real good quote. I find a lot of us that are like to figure out and have answers to everything. We're not going to have answers to everything. So just kind of stop thinking and be okay with not knowing everything. I think those are some good tips. So I hope you've enjoyed some of these tips for healthy living, different areas we've covered. Some people I've done some interviews in either at the bottom of the presentation. If you're in it, somewhere you can read the description, it'll be there, or you can just click this link and it'll be at the end of this presentation. You can find different resources to learn more about these different topics that I've recommended. You just take a picture of that with your cell phone and it has a little QR code reader and that should pop up. So I hope you've enjoyed this session of healthy living. These are some just basic overall tips. Some people I've interviewed in the past, others I'm looking to interview. I'd like to know what you think. You can certainly send me a message and put a little comment if you're watching this video portion. I'd love to hear and your ideas and any other thoughts for future episodes. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thank you for watching Healthy Living. You're going to find a few links here I'd like you to click. One is to subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Also, you can learn more. There are some videos here you can see.